It was 10 in the morning, and sitting in the bar with a whiskey, I watched Anna walk around the bar looking for something to do. I couldn't help but wonder why she plied her trade in this place. And that place was the Longhorn Saloon. I couldn't understand why some man hadn't grabbed her and taken her away from her slut life. Several times I spent a couple of dollars to be with her and considered it well spent. I'd like to do this again. I have money, but no time. Old man Brewster at the grocery store would have my van loaded and ready to go, and if I left now, I'd be there by evening. If I stay here tumbling with Anna, I'll be back home after midnight, although maybe it's worth it. Anna finished walking around the bar without finding anyone, and finally came up to me. "Good morning, Frank. Do you have some time for a little fun? Maybe next time, if some man hasn't taken you away from your slut life yet." She laughed and said, "It is unlikely. There is only one man who comes here with whom I would go, but he is not interested in marrying a woman like me." "Then he's a fool." She looked me straight in the eyes and said, "You don't look like a fool, Frank." "I? Would you leave here with me? Offer, and you will find out. Do you have any idea what your life will be like away from here? I grew up on a farm, so I have a pretty good idea. How quickly can you pack your things? Brewster should be loading my van by now, and it's time for us to head out if we want to get to my house before dark." "Give me 10 minutes, she said, and hurried upstairs. I waved my hand at Titus and told him to refill my whiskey. While pouring, he said, "I couldn't help but overhear what you and Miss Anna were talking about. You know that if you carry out your plans, Matson will not like it. Even though Matson is the owner of this saloon, she doesn't belong to him. It's unlikely he'll look at it that way. You do this and he will want a piece of your skin. You better be ready for this." I sipped my whiskey and wondered what Matson might do. Then he shrugged. "Whatever it is, I'll do my best to deal with it, just like everything else I've dealt with since I signed up for the war." I saw Anna approaching, finished my whiskey, and stood up. She carried a backpack and a bag. I took the satchel from her, and we left the saloon and went down to the grocery store. My wagon was ready to go. I had paid Brewster, placed Anna and her things in the wagon, and was checking the horses and tack when I heard, "Get your damn ass off the wagon and go back to where it belongs." I walked around the horses and saw Zach Matson rushing into the van and yelling at Anna. She looked at me scared, and I told her to sit quietly. I stood between Matson and the cart, put my hand on the Colt Dragoon in the holster on my right side, and said, "Go away. She's with me now, and you have no say." "Hell no. She's not going anywhere as long as she owes me." "What does she owe you for?" "For room and board." With my hand on the gun and my eyes on Matson, I asked Anna how much she owed, and she replied, "I don't know, he never told me." "How have you paid him so far?" "From the money I earn through prostitution." "How much does he get from each man you work with?" "He takes everything." "Then I don't think you owe him anything. In fact, it looks like he owes you a little. Why don't you go back to your saloon and find out how much you owe her, and next time we're back in town, we can collect it." "There's no way I'll do it." "Get off that bitch cart and get back to work." I took out my Colt, pointed it at Matson's head, and said, "The best person to return to this salon is you. And now, get out." He backed down, saying, "This is not the end yet. You haven't seen the last of me." And then he turned and headed back to his saloon. I climbed into the wagon, took the reins in my hands, slapped the horse on the sides with the long ends, and said, "Go ahead, guys, take us home." We set off, and 5 minutes later, we were out of the city and moving on. The journey to my house will take quite a long time, so we have time to talk and get to know each other better. I asked Anna to tell me a little about herself. I learned that she was 19 years old and grew up on a farm in Ohio, where her parents worked for the farm owner. As she grew older, she was asked to work on the farm and sometimes in the kitchen, along with her mother. The owner of the farm died, and her parents decided to move west and find their own place. Anna and her 19-year-old brother decided to go with them. They were caught by the Indians on the plain. 5 wagons rode together in a rough square and tried to fight off the Indians. They were almost overtaken when a cavalry column appeared, and the Indians fled. Of the 31 people in the vans, only 9 survived. Anna was the only one from her family who managed to escape. The cavalry escorted the survivors to the city and left them there. Anna had no money and could not find a job. Old Man Barnes let her sleep for free in the hayloft of his stable, but she was so hungry that when the cowboy offered her $1 to spend some time with him, she did it just so she could have money for food. Once she started, she never stopped. Matson offered her room and board if she would work in his saloon. It was only after she had been there for 2 weeks that she discovered Matson was charging her for room and board. And then she wanted to hear my story. Born and raised in Monroe, Michigan. Worked at the Monroe Wagon plant building wagons and buggies during the week and on my uncle's farm on the weekends. At the end of '62, I enlisted in the 27th Michigan Infantry, expecting to go to fight the Confederates. He ended up in New York, where he tried to suppress the anti-draft riots, participated in the battles of Spotsylvania Courthouse and Appomattox, participated in the siege of St. Petersburg. He parachuted in June 1965, and when he returned home, it turned out that all the jobs were occupied by those who did not go to war. Bill Hendricks told us about the homestead law that Abe passed in '62. We can live on 65 acres of land for just $18, and all you have to do is live on it and improve it for 5 years, and then it's yours without any encumbrances. 23 of us decided to do it, and a train of 18 wagons and a herd of cows came and settled here. All my neighbors are boys with whom I fought, and we still help each other when necessary. We were the first to come here, and we had a choice of sites. We drew lots to see who would choose first, and lucky for me, I was the first to choose. I chose the one I got because it has a fairly large stream running down the back of it, and if I were going to raise beef, I would need plenty of water. After 5 years, I filled out all the necessary paperwork, and now this place is completely mine, and I don't owe a cent for it. I don't have to drive the beef south to the trail to be slaughtered because the army saw fit to build a post here. I sell my beef to them and to the townspeople and barter a little with the guys I come here with. That, in fact, is my whole story. Just before dark, we arrived at my house. We carried her things into the hut. Then I took the wagon to the barn, unharnessed the horses, brought them into the stalls, fed and watered them, and then left the wagon to unload until the morning and headed towards the hut. Entering the hut, I found Anna naked on the bed, waiting for me. All I could say was that if she was ready, then I was ready. She lay there and looked at me while I was undressing, and when I was left in only my long johns, she asked, "We did this twice, and then again when we woke up the next morning. And after that, it seemed like she wanted to do it all the time. The next morning, she asked if I had chickens, pigs, sheep, or just cows. I said only cows, and then she wanted to know what I wanted her to do around the house. I don't want to just sit here all day and wait for you to come back from tending to the cows. What would you like to do? Plant a garden, maybe get chickens to breed and get eggs from. Do you know how to plant a garden? I've been doing this for many years. Make a list of what you need and we'll buy it next time we go to town." That evening, when we went to bed, she looked at me longingly, and I understood what she wanted, and I did it. She, of course, liked it. Then she reciprocated my feelings, and I liked it just as much as she liked what I did to her. She's gotten better since last time, and the last time it was about a year ago. I came to town to buy groceries and went to see her. She said she was very sorry, but she was on her period. I was about to leave, but she took my hand and said that she could still help me, and when I asked how it was, she told me to follow her to her room, which I did. It was my first time, and I liked it. Not as intense as copulation, but very close. 3 days later, Zach Matson and 2 horsemen showed up at the house, and he shouted, "Hello, home!" It was pure luck that I was in the barn when they showed up. I was mostly looking after the cows, but at that moment I went back to get the salt blocks. Anna opened the door, and Matson said, "Get ready. I'm taking you to where you belong." Anna closed the door in front of him. Matson laughed and said, "This won't help you. If I can't break down the door, I'll just set this house on fire and smoke you out." They were facing the hut, so they did not see me approach them from behind, and when I said, "I don't think I'll like it," it scared them a little. Matson turned his horse to face me, and his men followed. "We came to take my property," Matson said. "She is not your property. Abe outlawed slavery. She is not yours. She is here of her own free will. It does not matter. She'll come back with me. And how will she go with you if you are dead?" I had a revolver with me. I always carried it with me when I was outside. You never know when you might run into a rattlesnake or coyote. Once I even saw a wolf. I put my hand on it and Matson said, "There are 3 of us, and there's only 1 of you. You can't take all 3 of us. Maybe not, but I'll take at least 1. And it'll be you. And since you leave and can't pay them, they might just turn around and leave." From the hut I heard, "I'm targeting the one in the red shirt," and we heard a click, cocked chicken. Now I only have 2 to worry about, but the first one will be you. Matson turned to the other 2 and said, "I'll double your salary." And while he was saying this, I took out my Colt Dragoon, and Matson, when I heard a click, cocked trigger, turned to me and I said, "Do it or get off my land." Matson was angry, and angry people sometimes do stupid things, and I was waiting for him to start the fight. But his 2 men weren't angry, and they didn't really like their chances if the shooting started. Anna had already cocked her Henry and took aim at one, and my Colt was already in my hand and pointed in their direction. They turned their horses and rode off. "This is not the end," Matson said, and turned to follow his men. As he did this, I called out to him, "Matson," and he turned to look at me. "If there is a next time, I will kill you. Understood?" He threw a hostile look at me and galloped away. I went into the cabin, and as Anna was putting Henry in his place, I asked her if she really could have shot the man in the red shirt, and she said yes. When Poe died, I picked up his rifle and shot at the Indians. This was no different. I went to my chest, rummaged around at the bottom, and pulled out a 4-barreled Sharps pistol, which I took from a dead Confederate in Sylvania Sports. I handed it to her and said, "It doesn't have any stopping power because it's only a .22 caliber. If you need to use it, shoot it in the head." I took her to the barn, let her shoot it and get used to it, and then told her to keep it handy when I wasn't around. We have settled down. She had her own chickens and garden. I had beef and hay. One evening, coming from haymaking, I found her slightly agitated. Before he could ask, she said that she had to shoot a man that day. "He's in the barn. I had to drag him there. I couldn't leave him in the yard because someone might come. One of the people who came here with Matson, the day we drove them away. He told me to pack my things, and he would take me back to Matson, where I belonged." While gathering her things, she picked up the box of pepper, turned, and remembering my words, shot him in the face, and he fell. Her bullet hit him in the left eye, and that was the end of it. I buried him under one of the horse stalls, threw some hay on the ground, and then returned the horse to his stall. She was worried about what to do with his horse, and I said that I would use it to plow the fields and it would never be seen in town, so we wouldn't have to answer questions about it. If anyone sees her and asks about her, I will say that I found her one morning in my hayfield with a bloody saddle and was planning to take her into town with me the next time I went. The only question I ever received about this was from Jacob Winters. He's one of the guys I went to war with. He came to see me one day and asked me when I got my 3rd horse, and I told him how it happened. He said that he would give me a boar and 2 sows for her. He breeds pigs, and I agreed. That's what we did. Us Michigan boys exchanged with each other. This is how Anna got pigs. I took a few more things from the man Anna shot, except the horse. He had one of those new Winchesters, a Colt Peacemaker, and $38 in his pocket. I liked the Peacemaker, so I gave my Dragoon to Anna to keep in the hut, and I began wearing the Peacemaker myself. As soon as I traded Jacob's horse, I cleaned the blood from his saddle so that Anna would have something to ride. It was McClellan, and there are many of them in the area. The fact that the man came convinced me that Matson was not going to leave things as they were. It didn't matter that she wouldn't be of any use, being 3 months pregnant and all, but he didn't know that. I thought that Matson was a coward, And instead of coming myself, I told him that at the next meeting I would kill him. He sent his mercenaries. Why only one this time? I don't know, but it didn't matter. I had to do something. It was impossible to hope that Anna would cope with this alone if I was in the field, and more than one of them appeared. I didn't want to wait for the axe to fall, so I saddled Horse Raz, as I called him. The other was Horse too. First, I went to the city in the first rays of sun. We didn't have any plans. Just going to stop by Matson's saloon and see where it took us. We didn't have to wait long. Before I could put $1 on the bar and tell Titus to bring me some whiskey, I heard, "What the hell are you doing here?" I turned around and saw Matson and said, "I drink whiskey." "Not here. Get out of here and don't come back." Without turning my back to Matson, I asked, "Titus, who will get this position after Matson's death?" "Don't know. He has no relatives that I know of." "Maybe you can control it yourself until someone shows up?" "Don't know. I only worked behind the counter." "Perhaps you will have a chance to see if you can do it." "What do you say, Matson? Is he ready for a chance to see if he can do the job? If you want me to get out of here, you'll have to kick me out. The thing is, I don't think you can do it. You armed, come on, or get out of here and let me drink my whiskey in peace. Are you man enough to test me, or the slug I see you as?" Besides me, Matson, and Titus, there were 6 others in the establishment, 3 at one table, 2 at another, and 1 sitting alone. They all knew me, and knew that I was a farmer and rancher, not a gunslinger, so they knew something bad would happen if I challenged Matson. They heard everything that was said, and everyone looked at Matson to see if he could stand being called a coward. Matson knew everyone was looking at him and tried to back away. "Damn it, Dalton, there is no woman worth dying for." "Then why are you always trying to get her when she doesn't want to come?" "I didn't try, except that time. Bart told me otherwise when he was caught trying to take Anna away. He said you told all the guys working for you that you would give $35 silver to whoever brought Anna to you. I told him that if I see him next time, I will kill him. He must have believed me because I haven't seen him since. I haven't chased him away for a long time, but then I thought about the other guys you offered money to. I can't sit at home all the time, so in the end I realized that you can't pay anyone anything if you're dead. So there you go. You win, and all you have to do is go and get it. If I win, I won't have any more worries." "Damn it, boy, you had no right to take her away from here. She owed me money." "But we don't think so. You gave her room and board and took everything she earned here. Room and board anywhere else in town costs 75 cents a day. Anna never earned less than $3 a day. According to our calculations, you owe her at least $1,500. She never insisted on this because she was glad to leave here. But I don't think so. She worked here, so she is mine. I'm guessing you're one of the people who didn't hear the rumors that Abe freed the slaves and outlawed slavery. It may no longer be there, but even after that, slavery was not restored. She is free to do what she wants, and she wants to leave here with me. Now the question is, how many times do I have to call you a cowardly slug so you can sneak out and prove me right, or pull out a gun and prove me wrong? I saw that he was no longer going to accept being called a coward in front of everyone in the room, and I couldn't allow it. As long as he lived, he could pay people to do his dirty work for him, and Anna wouldn't be safe. I took a deep breath and then said, "Okay, coward." Then he turned his back to him and raised his glass of whiskey with his left hand. In the mirror at the back of the bar, I saw a smirk on his face as his hand went down to his gun. I dropped my temples, and my right hand went to my gun as I turned and took 2 quick steps to the right. Matson's shot hit the bar right where I was standing a few seconds ago, but my shot hit him in the chest. He stood with a shocked expression on his face, but the gun was pointed in my direction, so my second shot hit him in the forehead just above his right eye, and he fell. I turned and asked Titus for whiskey. He placed it on the bar counter, and I took it and turned to face the room. He took a sip, and then said, "You saw it all. He was going to shoot me from behind." Luckily for me, I looked in the mirror and saw him pull out a gun. I turned and said to Titus, "Looks like now you'll have to manage both the saloon and the hotel." I can't even imagine how. As far as I know, you were in love with Nancy Meigs. You know enough to run a bar, and I bet she can run a hotel. I turned to face the crowd, took out my pocket watch, looked at it, and said, "It was fun, gentlemen, but if I want to get home for bed, I have to go." I stepped over Matson's body and headed towards the house. I got home about an hour after dark, and after Anna fed me, I told her that our worries about what Matson might do were over. When she asked how this was possible, I replied that someone had killed him. Since he's dead, and no one can pay his boys, then everything's all right. And we were fine. Over the years, Anna gave birth to 2 sons and a daughter, and we led a completely